Hello, 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 everybody. Thank you so much for joining the second session for Youth Voices of the Nation. Today, I'm looking forward to us diving into a bit of a conversation about different ways we can take action and have our voices heard as young people, not only here in South Africa, but across the world. I'm joined, before we jump into things, I'm joined by two amazing facilitators who are with me today. Maybe I'll tag you in first, and Mbali, to introduce yourself, and then you can tag Snako in.
Hello, everyone. My name is Balim Luma. I am the Policy Information Officer at Project 90, and I will be co-facilitating this session. Passing on to Snakomsi.
Hi everyone, Kamalam Dumusnago Wagwamsi. I am the Communication and Advocacy Officer, and I'm glad to be here today.
Amazing, amazing. And I'm looking forward to diving into the discussion. For those who want to know, we'll be editing certain sections of today. And so, yeah, just to kind of have a bit of a smoother transition, just so that we can upload the section up online. And so your conversational parts won't necessarily be reflected in today's recording, but it will be reflected in the notes, just to allow for a bit more open conversation. Cool. So, what is Youth Voices of the Nation? Youth Voices of the Nation is a three-part weekly online gathering for youth living in South Africa and the broader African continent. One, to share lived realities. Two, build a common understanding of the role in a call for change that youth play, as well as to map a way forward to have our voices heard as young people. When does it happen? So obviously last week we had our first session on shared lived realities and mapping solutions. This week we're talking about understanding how we can have our voices heard as young people. And next week we will be having a dive into taking action for the future that we want. So, a recap of last week's session on shared lived realities and mapping solutions. We looked at how young people have been drivers for change over the last 100 years in South Africa, looking at iconic figures like Winnie Mandela, Joe Slovo, Oliver Tambo, Steve Biko, and how they changed the shape in the face of liberation struggles. We looked at how the emergence of amazing young activists over time had the kind of lever of change pushing the narrative of what young people wanted. We honored and respected the memory of the young people, the brave young people who stood up and took a stand against not only the kind of education system, but also the stripping of Africanness that we experienced in pre-apartheid times, and that resulted in the 76 youth uprising. And then obviously we moved into a bit of a look into more recent days with, the what is it called again? I forget. The Roads Must Fall, Fees Must Fall movement, and then moved into the more recent, global climate shift, call for global climate strikes, for the Fridays for Future global climate movement that we saw to where we are right now. We spoke about and we had a bit of an open discussion on the harsh realities that youth face, including but not limited to unemployment, the cost of living when it comes to transport, rent, food, electricity, etc., access to formal and informal avenues of education, access to decent and affordable education that allows and aligns with individuals for the job market, mental, physical, and emotional health issues, being left with the empty core that they are the ones to fix the future. And then we looked at ways to kind of map for the future and the ways forward. We spoke about decent, well-paying, and safe jobs that align with the direction the world is moving. We spoke about, putting up infrastructures and set up systems to prepare young people for the job market in the future. And then, of course, we looked into a world where mental, physical, emotional health is destigmatized, taken seriously, and safeguards are put into place. We also spoke deeply about, the kind of more recent uprising of Afrophobia, xenophobia, and how we need to combat those narratives and shift those things together. Today's session, we'll be looking at understanding how we can have our voices heard, looking at the importance of youth voice, looking at tools we can use to have our voices heard, and now that we know how will we act, a bit of a discussion there that might not make it to the final uploading, but definitely will make it into the final product in the call for youth voices to be taken seriously. So, the importance of our voices, youth. Young people are not only leaders of tomorrow, but active leaders and voices in shaping today. Our experiences, ideas, struggles give us a unique understanding of the world we're inheriting. In times of crisis and uncertainty, the voice of youth are essential in challenging injustice, imagining alternatives, and pushing for meaningful change. When young people speak out, organize, and participate, we strengthen democracy. We inspire communities and remind society that a different future is possible. So, what are the different ways we can have our voices heard? How have we had them heard historically, and how are we going to have them heard going forward? So today we'll look into social media and communications, letters and opinion pieces, public engagements and presentations, policy submissions, and diving into protests and mobilizations.
Awesome. Thank you, Gabriel. Now let's look into the ways how we can use social media as a tool for change. Social media is any platform online that connects people and is a space to create, share, and get information. We often use social media to learn more. Social media platforms have become one of the powerful spaces for connection and movement building. In many ways, these online platforms have democratized storytelling and allowed voices, lived experiences, and perspectives of grassroots activists across the world to be amplified like never before. This wonderful quote was shared by Ustela, one of the well-known communicators and storyteller. We'll look into 3 ways that we can use social media for change. One being information sharing, knowledge building, and learning, and how to finally take action. We live in a time where the click of a button is something you can have seen by anyone across the world. Anything that you share can be accessed by anyone or seen by anyone across the world. Knowledge building and learning. While it is fun to see the latest celeb drama and social media updates, social media offers more than that. It is a platform where you can learn something from someone, or you can see what someone has to say. For you to build knowledge learning in yourself and others, and for that knowledge to exist in an easy way, you have to have access to device and data. Taking action. While we all have what it takes to have your word and say something, we all know what it means to take action on the ground. We have either seen it on protest or have been a part of them. But if you can use social media to get your message even further than you know. So what are the ways that we can get our voices heard? Letters to decision makers and op-eds to the media. Writing letters to decision makers and submitting op-eds to the media are powerful ways for young people to make their voices heard. These tools allow for the youth to raise concerns, influence public debate, and hold leaders accountable. By speaking directly to those who are in power and shaping public narratives, young people can challenge harmful decisions, highlight community realities, and advocate for a just and meaningful change. Through collective and courageous communication, youth voices can shift conversations and inspire change. Next slide.
So moving on from writing op-eds, other ways that not only youth voices, but communities, individuals in general can voice out their opinions is writing letters to decision makers. Writing letters to decision makers is basically drafting or creating formal messages written to people in positions of power, such as government officials, company leaders, councillors, or community authorities. It's not only limited to these people, it's also people that make decisions that impact whatever project that directly affects your community or yourself. These letters are used to raise concerns, demand accountability, propose solutions, or call for action on issues affecting communities. It can also be writing a letter in a positive lens rather than negative to say that I or we as community members or organization appreciate what is being done and we would like to make improvements on A, B, and C. Letters are an important advocacy tool because they, number one, communicate community concerns directly to those with power, because you're using your voice to write down exactly what your concerns are. Number two, creating a formal public record of demands or objections. And number three, they show organized public participation and collective action to say that I am aware of what is going on and this is my voice to what is happening. And then, secondly, an effective letter to a decision maker usually includes a clear explanation of the issue and why it matters so that they know what you're talking about or addressing. Two, creating a formal specific demands, recommendations, or questions of public records of demands or objections. And lastly, a call for response and action. Passing on to Snuggle.
So thank you, Mbali. So opinion pieces. What is an op-ed? An op-ed is short for opposite the editorial page, is a written opinion published in a newspaper, magazine, or an online media platform. Unlike news articles, which reports facts objectively, an op-ed presents the writer's perspective on an issue, event, or debate. Op-eds are used to inform, persuade, and influence the public opinion or decision makers. They often combine facts, personal experiences, and arguments to make a strong case for change or action. So these are the ways that you can start to write your own op-ed. Number one, you start by brainstorming the ideas based on a topic you're interested in. You decide who, the what, the where, and the when, and the why, and your call to action. You create your first draft based on the mix of both lived and technical realities. You read through and ask a friend or a person who has done this before to help you out with the editing. And then when you're done with your draft, you would send it to the newspaper if you want it published in with a small draft about what the op-ed is about. So there are more ways that you can get your voice heard. Public engagements and presentations. Let's say you prefer having an audience in presence with you. Public engagements and presentations are important for younger people to share their ideas, raise awareness, and influence conversations within communities and public spaces. These can include speaking at community meetings, workshops, conferences, public hearings, schools, and so on. How you can go about creating your own presentation. You would choose a topic that is relevant to your case and to your community and to the group that you wish to engage with. Remember that different people respond differently to topics and how you present things. Create a visual and a verbal presentation based in fact and lived experiences that will help communicate what you want to present and how you want people to act. You would then contact your group and make your presentation. This should stimulate the conversation and build knowledge on the issue and bring people to take action.
Making policy submissions. So policy submissions are formal written or oral input sent to government departments, parliaments, or decision-making bodies to influence laws, regulation, or public policies. Although the word formal might seem scary, it's basically writing down your thoughts on what's happening within the country. For example, there are government gazettes that note down things that government is doing. You taking a look at those and forming a letter to insert your own opinion on these government decisions that are being made. Or if writing seems a bit too complex or you feel it does not necessarily draw out your opinion properly, oral inputs are also another factor that you can use. Because again, not everyone has proficiency in English as everyone else. So having oral input is also another way that you can make a policy submission. These public policies directly dictate how the issues we face are addressed or ignored. They are important because they allow individuals, communities, and organizations to directly shape how decisions are made rather than only reacting after policies are implemented. So keeping track about what's going on in your community and adding your voice. Number one, you can watch out for government release calls for comment on specific policies. This includes the South African Government Gazette. Number two, you can reach out with proposed changes to a specific policy or request a decision maker to take into account your changes. This can also include extending periods on making a comment if you feel that the time that you are given is too limited, saying that we need more time to think and look over said policies or requests made by decision makers. Number three, again, policy submissions don't need to be technical. All voices matter. They don't need to be written. Oral presentations are also a valid form of engagement. How to make a policy submission. This is practically an outline on how to make a policy submission so that your thoughts are properly structured and anyone who's reading it has a sense of what you are saying. Anyone can make a policy submission. Never done one yourself? Well, don't worry. Simply follow this outline provided. Number one, an introduction should include who you are or who your organization, what organization you're affiliated with. And then second thing under the introduction is why you are making a submission. This is how a decision impacts you or the work that you do, followed by comments. These comments should include number one, the welcoming opportunity to comment and raise any areas in the draft piece you appreciated. Practically, you outlining the reasons, the areas of concerns that you have within whatever decision or policy has been sent out. Number two, mentioning areas of concern. So if you are in a Khayelitsha or located in a specific area, you add that. And things that you feel should be removed or strengthened and why within policies, followed by additional items or things that are missing or should be included. For example, socially owned renewable energy projects or a common public participation or community engagement is lacking within decisions being made. Lastly, recommendations. This should include clear recommendations that you might have for the draft that has been put out, mentioning if you would like more meaningfully informed public consultation.
Protest actions and mobilizations. Whilst this isn't the only way of doing things or the last way of doing things, it's the last one we're going to talk about today. So, protest actions and mobilizations are collective public activities used to express a shared concern, demand change, and draw attention to urgent issues. They are often used when other forms of engagement are not enough on their own, and they play a key role in democratic participation and social movements. Here in South Africa, it is one of our rights protected to mobilize and take action on the ground. And so we need to make sure we are utilizing it and not hiding away when we feel our voices aren't heard through the formal processes. These can include marches, rallies, strikes, sit-ins, creative street actions, or coordinated campaigns that bring people together in public spaces or online. Things to consider when doing this kind of action, when you have your voice heard. So, it's not as easy as saying, let's march tomorrow. You need to take into consideration the various things. Where you are matters and affects what you do / what you can do. Be considerate about the risks that you may experience by taking action against or for something, as there are bad faith actors that may not want you to succeed in your efforts. For example, here in Western Cape, I can potentially talk about coal mines, but in Mpumalanga, someone that might be talking about coal mines, they might be targeted by individuals who think that they are anti-development. And so being cautious about where we take action or how we take action is essential. Remember that an action can look different for different things and for different people. Understanding this helps us navigate how best our messages can be heard, whether that's a protest, whether that's art, activism, which is artivism, poetry, or something else. There are different ways to bring different people into the movement, and they all matter. Lastly, make sure that your action has a point. Don't just march or protest for the sake of it, for the just, oh, why not? Identify your issue. Build an understanding of the solution with people. Take action with affected people and those in solidarity. And deliver your message in the form of a memorandum, not just the action yourself. The reason that we say do it in the form of a memorandum is because sometimes you'll protest today and you won't have enough resources to protest tomorrow. But if you give a memorandum, a formal memorandum, that it says, cool, it was accepted on this date, and you make an agreement that they will respond to you within this period of time, it allows you to follow up with them through formal processes again. So it shows a blend between what we saw Bali and Snako talking about when it comes to letters or policy submissions, the formal process versus the quote unquote informal process. All of these matter when we take action and have our voices heard. Thank you so much for joining today's session. We have cut out certain sections of the conversation because we want to make sure that we kind of protect the conversation that was had today. It was quite an emotional one, an intense one, but we're really grateful for all those who attended. We look forward to you to joining our next session on the 4th of June 2026 at 5 p.m. So we can talk about our next steps when it comes to campaigning and having our voices heard as young people. We'll make sure to include a recap of the session, of course, to ensure that people are able to meaningfully participate and engage with the substance without necessarily exposing who said what. Enjoy the rest of your evening, and we'll touch base soon. Bye-bye.